even said they see themselves as a technology company that operates trucks, not a
Ooh.
trucking company that's adopted technology, right?
You're listening to the BulkLoads podcast, your number one resource for everything bulk freight trucking. And this is episode 228.
Hey guys, Jared Flynn with the BulkLoads podcast. Got Tyler with me.
What's going on?
It's Christmas time. Yep. 'Tis the season.
Right. I'm excited.
Yeah. It's I love this season, but logistically
it's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare. I have anxiety. Just like traveling and in and out of the office. It's a lot. And I've said this before. In the trucking industry, it's really a logistics nightmare, trying to route trucks and getting people home for the holidays, getting things covered, especially when those holidays kind of fall smack in the middle.
Yeah.
But you all as listeners know exactly what I'm talking about. Hey, real quick tip I want to give this week. We are rocking and rolling on this insurance. And I say this not to pat ourselves on the back, but like over and over, we are saving truckers a considerable amount of money.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not talking like $50, $500. I'm talking thousands of dollars and single owner operators on what they're paying for insurance. And what we've done, our group, Larry and his team, man, they've just found the right markets. They are actually working with the truckers and markets to get better solutions for them. And this, Tyler, a lot of their coverages are the same, if not better, at better prices.
Yep.
And we say all this that we just knew that there was a need out there in the industry especially with our truckers. We have a very niche group of hardworking, I think, clean record, good driving, good old ag truck drivers that I thought were never getting enough attention to. So we have created these markets where we are, making headway, and I'm so happy to see it. I say all this to you as a listener. Hey, if you are looking at insurance, and we know that policies come up for renewal at all parts of the year, but man, if your policy's coming up for renewal, especially in the next couple of months, we want to talk to you. We want to talk to you regardless. But if your policy's coming up for renewal this month, the next month, here in a couple months, get a hold of us. We can start prospecting that. We'll get you over to our team over there, and I am super confident we will be able to help you out in one way or the other.
Yeah, and I'll say this: a reason that your insurance is probably so high is because your agent doesn't understand bulk trucking like we do. They don't understand, they don't have the markets for bulk trucking. I was talking to Larry, the CEO at Bulk Insurance, and he said we have, I think he called it a sexy tanker policy.
Yeah.
To where we're just beating out, agencies left and right with tanker guys. All bulk guys, but especially tankers. They're saving just a crap ton of money.
Yeah. And I'm going to get in trouble by saying this, but man, our guys are working hard to do this, man. We're not on the golf course and wine and dine. Dude, we are out there hustling, working these markets and trying to get the best coverage for these drivers. So I'm sure I'm going to get some flack on that, but man, we are just laser focused, man. And like we've been with BulkLoads, like we were with Smart Freight, our TMS, we are doing this with insurance. I want you guys to see those benefits. I'm not saying this for my benefit, but for yours. Get a hold of us. We will make it as painless as possible to get you in our system and giving you the right quotes.
Yep.
Bulk Insurance, Bulk Insurance Group. You can contact us at BulkLoads. We'll send you over there, but look up bulkinsurancegroup.com. Larry and his team are doing a phenomenal job there. Well, today's podcast, dude, I got like super stoked on this. Like this one was like, when I first talked to this gentleman, learning about his product, I was like, what? Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
But today I'm going to bring on Terry Reinert. He is the CEO of Fleet Defender, but high level, they are a software that prevents semi-trucks from being hacked. And I didn't even know this was a thing. Like this is like futuristic, like Terminator, Fast and the Furious. Like this is the stuff you see in the movies, but this is actually happening right now in real life.
Yeah.
And you think as more technology evolves, more trucks have ELDs, telematics, anything electronically connecting that truck, there are chances for that truck to get compromised and get hacked. And Terry, we'll go into his history, but he was in the military, worked on this side from a government standpoint, but this is the real deal going on.
Yeah, and I think it's now more important than ever, especially, with talks of electric trucks and, more just getting truck's getting more advanced. So you got to take the precautions to protect your stuff.
And this is so, I mean, this is just crazy. Like, these hackers could potentially compromise and get into the computer, which is actually can get into like actually controlling your power steering, your brakes, your engine,
Yeah.
why that driver is going down the road. I'm not making this up. I mean, this is legitimate. This is happening, and they've done it before. And it's happened specifically in some certain, I mean, I think he said there's a spot, I mean, in Mexico, and a spot here in the United States, but this is happening. So they are on the leading edge. If you're listening to this and being like, well, I don't have an ELD, or I don't run this, or I don't have electronics, like, listen, there are still ways that your equipment and truck can get compromised. So
Yep.
I want you to tune into that. So I'm not going to give it away. This one, man, you're going to get jacked up. Listen to this, because I couldn't believe this until talking to Terry. So with that said, here's my conversation with Terry Reinert. Hey, Terry, thanks for coming on.
Hey, Jared, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, well, we got connected through a mutual friend, and I'm so glad we did. We had a conversation last week, and you can kind of tell by my tone, I was pretty excited to hear when we kind of got into the details of what you guys are doing. So I don't want to give it away. Before we get started, Terry, give us just a little bit of background about yourself. I mean, you got quite the history. I mean, I think you do. So I want you to share it with our audience.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I remember when I was 5 years old, my dad brought a Commodore 64 home, and I remember learning how to program in parallel with learning how to speak English. I'm still not sure which one I know how to do better. But I grew up with tech and being surrounded by tech. Growing up in Florida, right next to the space program, watching the shuttle launches, just tech has always fascinated me. And a lot of what I did growing up was trying to figure out how technology worked, like taking it apart, really looking at it, how it worked, what made different systems operate. And that just kind of set up me for a career in cybersecurity. And so, did a short stint in the Marine Corps, decided that I wanted to learn some discipline and motivation, and what better place to get it than in the United States Marine Corps. And really loved serving in the Marine Corps. But I wanted more, especially like education wise. And so I got out of the Marine Corps, went to Florida Institute of Technology, got a bachelor's degree in computer engineering and a master's in information assurance and cybersecurity, and then got into the red teaming and penetration testing side of cybersecurity, and just really trying to understand vulnerabilities and how systems can be penetrated from a cybersecurity standpoint. And that got me thinking more along the lines of cyber defense, especially when it comes to platforms that weren't being defended, like vehicles, for example.
Yep.
There's been a lot of news lately about how vehicles can be compromised, by malicious actors, and I wanted to do something about that, and that's kind of what brought us here.
So you were, before you started Fleet Defender, we're going to get into that though. You were already dabbling with vehicles, right? And the cybersecurity with them. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I worked a lot with the Department of Defense, looking at the security of vehicles. I mean, obviously we're operating, military vehicles all over the world, and they really were concerned with what our adversaries could do to decrease our operational capabilities with vehicles. And so we were tasked with looking at those things to say, what could happen to us so that way we can better defend against those attacks. So I spent a long time working within the government space, looking at ground vehicles, what was possible from a cyber perspective, and then what could we do about it to prevent those bad things from happening.
So let's talk about Fleet Defender, but I want to get into examples, because you were telling me some of these things, how, a hacker can essentially get in and run the steering or the brakes of truck, which I mean, it just sounds so scary to think, but we're in an age now with electronics and technology that can actually happen. I'm hearing on the back end, I'm sure guys are listening to this. Why I don't have any of that technology. I don't use ELDs and blah, 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 blah. But I mean, there's things, I mean, we have to be aware of this. And as we move to more technology, specifically in the trucking industry, I mean, this is something that's got to be, looked at a lot more. So let's talk about, what is Fleet Defender. If I don't know anything about trucking, anything about cybersecurity, what's your elevator pitch on Fleet Defender?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you operate a platform, whether it's a long haul tractor trailer, a piece of construction equipment, a combine, an armored car, a school bus, like you name it, if you operate a platform, when the wheels stop turning, you stop making money. And so it's critical to keep the wheels turning and keep these platforms operating. And so really what we do from a cybersecurity and a safety perspective, we enable our clients to operate their vehicles anytime, anywhere, without fear of compromise. And by compromise, I mean, a malicious cyber attack or even a distracted driver that compromises the safety of the vehicle and, causes an accident. And now you have, again, wheels stop turning because you're dealing with an accident and things like that. So, we come at it from a cyber protection. We come at it from a driver safety perspective. But also preventative maintenance and regulatory compliance as well. So kind of the complete package, looking at the safety and security of the vehicle. So that way you can continue to operate your platforms, which means you're going to continue generating revenue.
We were talking about some specific examples because I want you to share some of these real-time examples. There was a truck you mentioned in Mexico, right? Can you tell us that story of what happened?
Yeah, sure. So there's it's kind of a cat and mouse game with bad actors being cartels or gangs or whoever, but they'll roll up next to vehicles, trucks that they want to hijack or get access to the loads that they're carrying, and they'll box them in. So they'll put a vehicle in front, on the side, and on the back, and then they'll force the truck to stop, and then they'll take the driver out and steal the truck. Well, what they've started doing now, because you got all these GPS devices, you have all the ELDs, all the telematics that go into all these vehicles. They know that people can be alerted that these things are occurring. And so what they'll actually do is in one of the vehicles next to the truck, they'll have a jammer that'll jam all the cellular bands around the vehicle. And so all your GPS, all your links out to your, enterprise networks, your ELDs, all that connectivity goes down. Like you can't even call, the local authorities on your cell phone because they're jamming all the cell phone bands. And so they've kind of gotten smarter about these things and shutting down the ability to respond to them, or at least to know that it's occurring until it's already happened and the truck's already gone. And at that point, there's no tracking it. You don't know where it went or who did anything. And so that's one where it's still kind of a remote attack. They're not attacking the truck itself. They're attacking it physically, but not necessarily electronically. They're just jamming the communications around it. But an even more interesting one, about 5 or 6 months ago, researchers at the National Motor Freight Trucking Association, they released information on a 0-day attack against truck trailers. I guess there was a vulnerability where some of the network connections were not grounded properly. And from a vehicle nearby with a little software-defined radio and an antenna, they were able to induce diagnostic messages on one of the trailer networks that caused the brakes to lock up. So now you have a very clear and published example of where somebody with a very low cost piece of hardware can actually cause a devastating effect. So you've got a truck rolling down the road at 60, 70 miles an hour, and you can lock the brakes on the trailer.
It's just like some of this you describe, it reminds me of I've never was a Fast and Furious watcher. I mean, I don't know if there was 10 episodes or whatever. But it makes me think of that, like these hackers or these cars that can go in and hijack these trucks like that. Talk to us about how this can happen, like with the technology today, these telematics. Like how can that hacker actually get into the truck? I mean, that it just doesn't. It almost seems unfathomable, but I know it can happen.
Yeah, it can. And it's just like a Windows computer. It's just like a Linux computer. It's just like a phone. The thing about modern vehicles, people don't really realize they're more of a computer than they've ever been in history. You've got what they call electronic control units, or ECUs. They're spread out throughout the vehicle. So they control everything from your door locks, your power windows, to the timing of your engine and your fuel injectors, and just all the different aspects of your vehicle is all controlled by computers now. And those computers are, like I said, just like a Windows or a Linux computer. They've got memory, they've got a processor, they've got input and output. They're processing data, and they're have these really complex software algorithms that run inside of them, all built by humans. And as we know, humans are fallible. We can't think of everything as engineers. And so sometimes mistakes are made, and there's vulnerabilities in these systems and unforeseen problems that we didn't know about. And they can be exploited by hackers or criminals to gain access to those systems to do something. Now, as cars become more and more connected, and especially within the trucking industry, we've seen a lot of regulations that have come out that require trucks to be more connected for emission controls and monitoring, safety and compliance, all these different things. Those software stacks that run all the networks, like the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth, the cellular connections, all those things, they have vulnerabilities in them that can be found and exploited to gain access. And then from there, it's just like accessing any network, right? Like you get a beachhead on a network, be it somebody's computer, and then you use that connection, that beachhead in that network, to then pivot and start moving through the network to get to the server, to get to the things that you really want. Well, in a vehicle, it's very similar. You can land in a telematics unit over a cellular link or a Wi-Fi link, and then you can pivot through the vehicle network to get to the power steering control module, which controls the steering of the vehicle, or to the analog brake controller, which controls the brakes. And I mean, I'm making it sound simple. It is very tough to do, but people are doing it. Back in 2016, some academic researchers actually demonstrated live on the news that they could hack a Jeep Cherokee over the cellular link and shut off its engine while it was driving down the highway. They did it on the news with the reporter in the vehicle. And so like, it really does start to show like there's still a lot of people that's like, oh, this can't happen. But there's starting to be a lot of literature and examples that are being released that really show that this is possible. And another big indicator is, and what we're really watching is the war between Russia and the Ukraine, because the West is sending a lot of aid, be it food, ammunition, weapons, whatever, through Europe and into the Ukraine to help support the Ukraine. And Russia's really going after the logistics chains to kind of try to shut those trucks down.
Yeah.
And if not prevent the aid from arriving, but at least slow it down. And so there's been some really interesting activity there that as time progresses, I think more and more of it's going to become public on exactly what Russia's been doing against these logistics fleets in those areas.
Well, yeah, we talked about that prior, but what better way? I mean, you can look at wars of previous time. I mean, you shut down the supply chain and logistics. I mean, you starve people of whether it's food or weapons or whatever. So
right.
I mean,
you can't fight a war without logistics.
Yeah.
Like no matter if you're sending tanks in, you got to have fuel trucks right behind them. Like you win wars with logistics.
Yeah, absolutely. So Terry, if I'm listening to this podcast, we deal with the truckers of all different age groups. We have a lot trucking industry though. We have a lot of older truckers, kind of like farming. The average age is 60. I talked to a lot of guys that don't run ELDs. I don't even know telematics, in their trucks. They have pre-admissions. Do they need to be aware of stuff like this as far as cybersecurity specifically on the trucks? Are there other ways that hackers could get into their equipment?
There are. And, it's interesting, with the ELDs and like the cellular links and stuff to the trucks, a lot of times, we don't even use those, what we call attack vectors to get into the vehicles. There's a lot of other ways that we can, get in. A lot of the enterprise networks with some of the larger, logistics chains, like they're looking for things going through the telematics link to the vehicle. And so there's some eyes there, there's some cyber protections there to kind of watch and monitor to see what's going on. And so from an attacker perspective, you want to avoid that, right? Like if you've got really bright lights on the front of your house, but no lights on the back of your house, the attacker is going to go up to your back door, not your front door, right? And so knowing where the protections are in place, attackers are going to avoid those attack vectors and go for ones where no one's watching. And so what we do is we actually sit on vehicles, and we're passive. So we just kind of, nobody knows we're there. The Fleet Defender system is running within the vehicle, and we're watching everything that's going on. And we know what normal operation of a vehicle looks like. And so we know when things happen, like from a cybersecurity perspective, we can see if someone's trying to do a denial of service against the network bus. We can tell if someone's spoofing messages to try to take over different parts of the vehicle, or if they're trying to flash new, software into one of those ECUs we were talking about. We can see all that going on, and we can say, wait a minute, something's not right here. We need to do something about this. Stop. And so we sit there and watch all of that. And so when these things start to occur, like that hack that the NMFTA kind of put out there about locking up the trailer brakes, we'll see what's going on before the attacker gets to the point to where they're actually able to do that. And so that's kind of the key, right? Like, stop them before they can access something that's critical. Like if somebody gets on, an intern's computer, no big deal. Mm-hmm. But if you can stop them before they can get to the server, that's what you want to do. Once they get to the server, it's game over, right? Once the attacker gets to your power steering control module, once they get to your engine controller, once they get to one of those, it's game over. And so we sit and we watch what's going on, and we can stop them now before they can get to what they're trying to get to.
Well, so this is a perfect segue. Let's talk about Fleet Defender. How does your product work high level? I mean, give us a scope of, like, if I'm a fleet out there, 5-10 trucks, I'm interested in this, I want to protect them. How do you all work?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just talk about a fleet. Just a normal size fleet, couple thousand trucks or a couple hundred trucks. It doesn't matter. We take our box, our Fleet Defender system, and we install it in the truck. And it's, pretty low maintenance. Like, we just pop a connector off, stick it in there, put the connector back on with us in the middle, and now we're grabbing traffic from the truck. So it's a very lightweight install. You don't have to modify your truck, nothing like that. It just kind of goes in. It's pretty seamless.
Is this something that your team installs, or can this be shipped to a company and then they install it?
There's a couple different ways we can do it. We've worked with large fleets that have their own maintenance systems maintenance groups that will install it. We've got a field support engineer that we send out to work with, groups that don't have those really robust maintenance facilities. So we can kind of install it. Okay. Honest to God's truth, it's so easy. We can install it in a parking lot. It's really easy. And that was like the idea, right? Like, we don't want to have to cut wires and splice stuff in. Like, it doesn't, truckers aren't going to want to do that to their trucks. No. And so super easy, super light, plug it in just like an insurance dongle, you would on a normal vehicle. And then once we're there, we can actually, again, start monitoring all the networks of the truck, but then we link out of the truck back to our security operations center so we can see what's going on with the truck. We can see when there's safety issues arising, when there's security issues arising. And then what we do from there is kind of just log it and then follow the playbook, right? Like, if there's a breach in cyber, we start making the connections with the fleet, director of cybersecurity, for example, and let them know that there's been a compromise on a truck, and then we can get incident response involved. So then we can get that truck rolling again as fast as possible. That's kind of like the highest level view, where we've got the box in the truck doing the monitoring and the detection and the response piece. But then we've got I call them the angels in the sky, right? Like, you've got the security operations center watching over you, making sure everything's good. So that way, something is not going to be compromised in a way that's going to cause loss of life or a major accident, or even just the truck stop working. Yeah.
You all have a current partnership with Warner, and I should have said this earlier. You guys are based up in the Omaha area. So are they currently using the product, or will they be with their fleet?
They are. So Warner has been an absolutely amazing partner. They have such an amazing team, both on the cybersecurity and on the safety side, and even all the way up into the executive team. Like, they are really thinking about technology and logistics differently. And I don't know, I think they've even said they see themselves as a technology company that operates trucks, not a trucking company that's adopted technology, right? Like, that's good. They're really forward thinkers in a lot of these areas. And so they've really helped us understand, I'm not a trucker, right? Like, I'm a cybersecurity guy. And so, I don't know what it's like to drive a truck down an interstate. I've been in them, I've done it, but I don't know that world like they do. And so it's been a perfect partnership where we can bring the cybersecurity and the safety piece of the technology into their world. And they've helped us immensely integrate with that world. And so they right now we have hardware with Warner running on some of their trucks, and we're tweaking some of the things that we're doing on like the graphical user interface, like what the trucker actually sees. Like we want to make it so seamless that it's just another piece of the truck. It's not like, oh, now I have this other system I have to deal with, or oh, now my fleet owner is making me deal with this, right? Like we want to make it to where the guys operating the trucks, they want this because this is a layer of protection for them. Yeah. And it fits in seamlessly with what they're trying to do. I always joked, being a government contractor in the past, I always joked, like when you climb into a Humvee, exactly whether the guy who designed something in that Humvee has ever been in a Humvee before, because there's stuff in Humvees that should not be in Humvees. Like you can't sit in a Humvee with it. Like it's too bulky or it's too heavy or it gets in the way or you keep banging your head on it. Like the guys who designed this stuff, they weren't people who sit in Humvees, And so like I wanted to get inside the head of truckers, and whatever we design, it should feel like it was designed by a trucker because it fits in seamlessly with what they do.
Yeah. Wow. That's good. Besides the cybersecurity, you talked about technology, and there's a lot more than just cybersecurity that you guys are thinking about with this product. Speak to us a little bit on the data side. You said that's going to be a big component of this as well, or the data that you all are collecting from using this technology.
Yeah, so it's really interesting when you're looking at all the data coming off of a truck. It's amazing what you can actually do with that data and what you can tell about the truck, about the driver, about the environment around the vehicle. It's truly fascinating what you can do. And one of the things we're working on right now is actually a safety app. So think of it like, some of the insurance companies for passenger vehicles, they've got the little dongle they plug in. And if you're a safe driver, they decrease your rates. We want to do the exact same thing for trucks, where we can watch and see how drivers are driving the vehicle. And if you're a safe driver and you're conscious about like even emissions control, how you're operating the accelerator pedal, how you're operating the brake, how you actually steer the vehicle, are you attentive, do you minimize distractions, and then use that to work with two different people, right? One, the insurance company to lower your rates, but two, also work with the fleet owner to give you higher compensation because you're a safer driver.
Yep.
But we can't do that in a vacuum. You can't just generate a safety rating and say, hey, it is what it is, right? Like we want to make truckers feel like they're empowered to be better so they can have an impact on their score. So now we're incorporating a feature where it actually coaches the driver. So it can look at how the driver is operating the vehicle and then provide coaching back to the driver that says, hey, you're a little heavy on the accelerator, or, like when you turn, you're jerking the wheel just a little bit too much, or, these are just some like little contrived examples, but just provide coaching back to the driver so they can actually increase their safety rating, which is going to decrease their insurance and increase their compensation.
Yeah. You talked about the coaching. Yeah. I mean, I actually have a coach that I use just for business. So why wouldn't you want this as a driver? I can see some people listening to that being like, I don't know how to drive a truck and nobody's going to tell me, but like, man, any tip that you can have. And again, if you get incentivized somehow, whether it's a pay or whatever, actually, let's create a way that you're actually incentivized by driving better. You talked about insurance too. We have an insurance entity of our own, and man, we're learning so much about the insurance world. And again, it's just common sense, less accidents are, you get better premiums or lower premiums. And how do you do that? And how do you work with insurance providers or carriers and the trucking companies to help get better pricing, better coverage, but more importantly, more safety across the fleet. So I think that's fascinating. Terry, we could go on for hours, I think, on this, man. You're just like scraping the surface. I think this is so cool, especially from a technology play. For people listening right now, and they want to learn more about Fleet Defender, we're going to put the website up there. But go ahead, give us the website and best contact information. If I have a fleet owner right now, 10 plus, or maybe even just one truck saying, man, I think this is something we should probably look into. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, honestly, the best way is go hit our website. We just launched a new website, so we're still updating it constantly to put more content on it, but it's fleetdefender.com. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Go on there, check it out. We've got a contact page. We've got a phone number on there. If you're interested in learning more, just give us a call and we'll be happy to connect you to the right people to get you more information on whether you're interested in the cybersecurity side, the safety side, the insurance side, whatever it is, we can get you to the right people.
Awesome. Well, you're up in Omaha, and we, our Smart Freight, one of our entities is up there. So I promise next time I'm up there, I'm going to give you a heads up, and we're either going to do lunch or coffee. I look forward to meeting with you and expanding on this. I think guys like you that are doing things like this to change the industry for the good. And again, I didn't tell you, we had a gentleman on, I think it was a couple months ago. I can't remember which specific episode, but we talked about cybersecurity just in agriculture. I mean, how do we, this thing is, as much as people want to avoid this, like it is here. I mean, and we're already seeing, we've seen co-ops get shut down and different organizations. So why couldn't it happen to trucks as well? I mean, the more we become more technology inclined, the more that there's going to be risks like this. So it's not to be scared of technology, but just know how to be prepared and prevent situations like that when they happen.
Well, you nailed it. Fleet Defender is not just a logistics long haul trucking company. We like to call it like we're a platform company. So we're working with companies in construction and mining. We're working with companies in the agricultural side, people that have armored trucks.
Yeah.
We're working with some of them too. Like we sit across all platforms. And so we're not just a vehicle cybersecurity company. We kind of fit across all platforms.
Well, yeah, I was thinking in agriculture, we have, combines and tractors and grain carts.
Everything's
it's all
connected.
Yeah, it's all connected.
Everything's connected. It's a crazy world, but it's exciting because what we're able to do with technology is amazing. And now we just got to make sure that we're preventing our adversaries from doing things with it we don't want them to.
Yeah, absolutely. Terry, hey, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Jared.
Tyler, I think my adrenaline's still going from that conversation with Terry.
Yeah, I couldn't believe whenever I was listening and he was saying all this stuff that this is even possible.
Yeah, it just seems so surreal. I know a lot of people are listening to this being like, this won't happen to me. But man, I'm telling you, in today's age with cybersecurity and technology, everything going digital, which is a good thing, but we have to be prepared for people that can be on the counterattack. And like you said, even now today with warfare, like it's about shutting down supply chains. You can shut them down digitally or get in the back end of these systems. He was talking about the whole Ukraine deal and how, Russia could potentially be shutting down the supply chain going into there from whatever countries that delivering it.
Yeah. That's the unfortunate thing is this industry is heavily targeted. And we've seen in the last couple of years, the agriculture industry especially is really a hot target for these guys to come in and hack the stuff.
Yeah. And last, I think he said, one thing that they've realized by doing this, they're not just a security system, but they're actually looking at other segments from a data play and actually helping coach drivers on how to run the truck more efficiently. If the truck driver is hitting the brakes too hard or accelerating too hard or doing something, they can pick up on that, which again, I know people listening are like, hey, that's Big Brother. I don't want them to control me. But like, hey, if there's ways that you can be a better driver and prevent accidents, get better, lower insurance premiums, like we just talked about when we started this conversation in our introduction, that can be huge savings to your company with multiple drivers. So again, I just want to say that be open to that because I think there can be a lot more benefits than you think.
Yeah, exactly.
So awesome. Well, again, man, it's Christmas time, man. We hope you guys are preparing for that. We hope that you've had a blessed year. So you can have a blessed Christmas. One thing I want to throw out, I have my third children's book released. It's at Semi Sam Delivers a Tree to the White House. Would love to put that in your hands. You can go on to Amazon. Tyler, will you put that link on Amazon?
Yep.
And we'd love to get that to you. If you're out there and you can't afford it, again, my goal to do these books wasn't to make money. I mean, it was to just raise more awareness in trucking and in agriculture and get kids more exposed to that and realize the value of that. When I first started doing these books, the idea, I never found books out there that were teaching kids this. So that's why I started.
Yeah.
Again, so you'll find, if you look up Semi Sam on Amazon, you'll see Semi Sam Delivers a Tree to the White House. It's very educational. It's got a good storyline in there. It talks about even the struggles truckers like you have delivering, making deliveries in the wintertime with roads and hazards and all that, and just the challenges that you all face on the road. So this is a book that I pray and hope that you will add to your Christmas collection. You can get it out every year and share it with your children, grandchildren. It makes an awesome stocking stuffer and a super simple gift. I'm one of those, man. I always, when it comes to Christmas time, then I get in panic mode of like, what gifts can I give to people?
Yeah.
Hey, it's right here. So go to Amazon and share this with your loved ones. I'd be very appreciative and thankful for that.
Yep.
So awesome. Well, hey, thank you always for listening to the BulkLoads podcast, man. We're closing out the year here. We've had a blessed year. If you know of other people that can benefit from this, man, we'd love for you to share our podcast. We also have a YouTube channel. You can go on there. Tyler puts these podcasts on there. You can listen on YouTube here in the next upcoming months. We're going to start doing live videos. We know that that's kind of the trend with podcasting, and we want to be able to provide video as well. So make sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And Tyler, man, you guys are rocking and rolling on social media. So find us on Facebook, Instagram. We have a lot of cool giveaways. We talked about the last one, some hats that we have. We want to get those to you. So I know that's a mouthful, but man, make sure and follow us on our social media. You won't regret it.
Yep.
So awesome. Thank you very much, and God bless.